Hi, all signed up for the internet marketing class. For today, I'm going to talk a little bit about week 2 and some of the things that you need to do. The first thing I want to talk about, of course, is what is organic SEO. So, in this case, these are videos that kind of explain how Google works, and I think I kind of gave you an overview the first week about when you're searching for a product. Of course, I have my products, which we looked at a lot of last week. Again, what are the difference between ads and what we call organic links here? Of course, I don't pay to be in Google here. I am naturally ranking because of the words I put into my website. And so in this case, let's just talk about how you can find words and, what are these words and where do we put them. So of course I kind of talked a little bit about WordPress versus hand coding HTML. Again, this site is all done in WordPress, but it still has the same kind of information that you would hand code into any website. So if I go and I look, if you're using a browser, I'm using Firefox, or if you're using Chrome or any of them, there's a way to view the code. So in this case, in Firefox, I can go and view the code by going under Tools, Web Developer, and if I look down here, you'll see where it says Page Source right here. So again, I'm using Firefox. If we go to Tools, Web Developer, these are all the developer tools that help you build websites. But if you just go to the page source right here, it'll show you the code. And as you can see, there's a bunch of code. This is mostly written, again, this is mostly done through WordPress. But the ones I'm going to talk about first would be something called tags. And the tags that we're most concerned about with, and I'm going to kind of scroll a little bit to the right here so you can see. The tags that I'm most concerned about, of course, would be the title tag. And I briefly talked about that last week. As you can see here, title, and then it'll say stud finders, and then there's the little dash, metal detectors, a little dash there, and scanners, and Zircon Corporation. Now, this is kind of the new way that people have been writing. I didn't write this. I don't kind of like writing this like that. I kind of like writing in sentence form and title, the title tag having more meaning than a bunch of, I guess we would call these key phrases. That's sort of the way that we had some consultants talk about it, and this is the way that they said would be best. I guess, I kind of like, words when I'm writing. I even like, even on the video ones, like right here, here's one of the videos from YouTube. You'll see, how to use Zircon Stud Sensor Edge Stud Finder to find wall studs or wall studs. Yeah, I kind of like things like that. I think that sort of says more. But again, Amazon and a lot of these companies have all gone to this dash, and it kind of has to do mostly with the plugin. And I'll show you in a little bit the Yoast plugin that goes with WordPress. The other one that is very important, you can hand code this into your code right there. If you're hand coding a website right there, a title tag is on every page. It's a requirement for a page. You'll see it's up here. It's going to be in the top of the bar up here. And then, of course, the description tag is the second one that's very important that you hand code in there. Or if you're using a plugin, plugins like a software that you add to WordPress to help you do something. And so there's a plugin called Yoast that I have some links to and talk about this week. But again, there's one called the description tag. It's right here. It's called meta description. I know this is kind of small and you probably can't see it very well, but you notice then there is a kind of a phrase. You can see it here. Zircon Corporation manufactures, designs, and markets the best stud finders, metal detectors, and scanners worldwide. And of course, if we go back to Google, you'll see it's right here. Zircon Corporation manufactures, design, and markets the best stud finders, metal detectors, and scanners worldwide. So you can see right then and there, these are probably the most important to getting yourself a good organic link. But there's other meta tags that you can put in there, but those are probably the most two important ones that you would put in there. And this is pretty much the only ones I really use here. But there's other ones. Let me pause this for a moment and I'll bring up some of the other ones that you might want to use. So let me continue to talk about the head elements. So I'm looking at several websites here, and probably the one that you find the most useful might be the w3.org. This is a website that is of the people that the organization that manages the World Wide Web and the code that we use to write websites and to make cell phone sites and everything. And I was showing you the title tag and the description tag. And those tags, I know many of you not necessarily web developers, but I just want to point out that those codes that I'm talking about are head elements, and the head elements are elements that the user doesn't really see on the website. It's above, and it's used by, like you saw in Google and other by the browser to help categorize and do things on your website. In this case, in the head section of the HTML, you have the title tag. We already talked about that. But we also have a base element, which kind of tells the website basically what's going on. I don't know how more to describe that. There's a variety of other ones that you could use in your head element. They're called meta tags. And so let's go another website you might want to look at to learn a little bit about the HTML and where these marketing words would go is called the w3schools.com. In the w3schools.com, it lists all those. And I'm looking at the head elements right here. Again, it's code that's put on every HTML page. Again, the title tag is very important, and it shows you how to write one here at the W3 Schools. In addition, you could put style elements in the head, which is for cascading style sheets, which just tells it how to design your site. There's also links. You can put links up there if you're linking content, like this is a link to a CSS that also goes in the head element. Also another meta tag, which again is in the head element, tells it what language or what character set. Character set means, keyboard basically. What is your kind of keyboard language? And as you can see, this is the standard American English right there. Again, also another one is the one we looked at already, is the description tag. And then there's another one called the keywords. It's called meta keywords. And the keywords is a little different than the description or different than the title in that usually you just list words that would be related to the content of your site. And they put a comma in between. Sometimes you don't have to put a comma, but they put a comma. Now, the keywords aren't really used by Google anymore or many of the search engines, because back in the day, when we first started writing HTML, we used to use keywords, and search engines would use keywords to rank your website. But then people figured out we just put a bunch of words that might not even are related to your website, and you would rank under that as well. So there was a way of what we call spamming, and I'll talk a little bit about being banned on Google a little bit later for something called spamming. But as you can see, another one meta tag might be something called keywords, that you list your keywords. You can still put them inside of the Yoast plugin for WordPress. They have a spot for keywords as well, but keywords are not really used by Google, and as you saw when we were looking at the search results, the keywords don't show up. Some other meta tags might be author. I used author, and you can put the name of the person. Sometimes you can put copyright. There's a whole list of them in here. This website's not showing all of them, but there's a lot of other meta tags. Again, Google and the search engines really kind of disregard them, so it's not really important that you put them in there. There is also a refresh tag that I use to redirect websites. That is also a key website, which I have. If you need a website to go somewhere else, you can use a meta tag called refresh. And then, so you can see the list of kind of what that might look like right there, and how the code is written right there. Again, it's on the w3schools.com, has a good tutorials on how to deal with that. The other important one I would say as far as that is how not to rank inside of Google. And you say to yourself, well, what do you mean by that? Well, there is another meta tag that you could use called no link, no follow. And we can look that up real quick here, the how not to rank in Google. There we go. And then, oh, maybe I should have put no link, no follow in there. Again, it's called no link, no follow. Let's see if I can get a good, here it is. So again, another meta tag you might want to use is called no follow, and that is, and you can see it right here. This is the code right here that you could put in the meta area of your website. Again, it's in the head section of the code, and it's called meta name robots content no follow. And what this is telling is Googlebot is the robot that comes and reads your website. You should watch the videos on Google. They'll explain a little bit of that to you. And then you put no follow on there, and what it'll do is it won't read your content of your site and go and follow the links. And that way you don't, and you might want to have content that you don't rank inside of Google. So, maybe it's content you don't want to be in Google. So, those are the kind of the main meta tags right there. Again, you can hand code them for organic ranking and so on. Okay, I was talking about keywords and how you can put the keywords into your into the code, the title tag, description tag, and so on. But of course, if you're using something like WordPress, which is a content management system, usually that is managed by using something called a plugin. A plugin is what you add to WordPress to manage something. The most popular one, of course, is Yoast. Yoast is a plugin that is used to add keywords. So let me quickly show you what Yoast is, and you can watch some. I think I linked a video about overview of Yoast on the class website. But in this case, if we look at the Yoast, right now here is WordPress. You could see, so there's plugins right here, and you install a plugin into WordPress, and that plugin then will be used to manage your code. And as you can see, we have the Yoast plugin, and then on that Yoast plugin, then you can go to a page, and I'm trying to bring up a page here. Let's bring up the home page here, and then what Yoast would be then is in each page, it shows up as a little snippet somewhere in when you're building a page, and as you can see, it's right here towards the bottom. And as you can see, what it does is you can edit it right here, and it'll give you the title, which is the name that we just looked at. Again, we could use the little dashes between the words, as well as you can use a description tag as well. And then there's even something called a slug option, which is basically the name of the file. And I think we kind of looked at that briefly, and let me briefly show you that. If we're searching on Google and we type in our Zircon stud finders, and we come up with our thing, let's look down here real quick so I can show you what the down here. Oh, how come I only have one page? I think I put S in there. Let's put Finder. We'll come up with a little bit more. So you'll notice right here where it says the address right here. You can see it, zircon.com, and then you'll notice there's a little / right here, and then there's a how-to. That how-to is the actual slug. So you can actually use the words right here as a ranking word. It could be a word that somebody would type in. So if somebody's typing in how to use the Zircon tool, this page would most likely come up on one of the top pages. One of the reasons why is because this little word right here, how to, is actually in the file name. So the slug that you see, wherever that was, where we get back here, the slug that you see here could be part of the name. Now this is the home page, so I don't have one here. But if it was a sub page, you could use the slug as part of a, use some words that you think people would search on Google to find your website, and you can put that in the actual name itself right there. And then of course description, and then of course we just talked about focus keywords, and you can list them in here. I don't really use them. Google doesn't use them at all either. So again, you could use Yoast to put those words in for an organic ranking.